25 countries, many of whom regard themselves as close allies of Israel. Britain sends weapons to Israel, are condemning your behaviour as inhumane killing of civilians and children. Can you really just dismiss it?
Well, it's interesting that you didn't mention at all in your report, or the reporters from the field, nobody is talking about the deal that is supposed to have been signed with Hamas. The negotiations that are currently going on in Doha to stop the whole war, and that Hamas are dragging its feet, even though Israel has shown compromise in the last few hours. So if the world wants this to stop, then why is the pressure not on Hamas to actually come to terms to sign the deal?
Well, Hamas has been saying it's been ready to do a deal for months and months, and that it is you. So let's not talk about that. That is the problem. The ongoing problem with those negotiations is that you blame each other. Let's stick to the killing of civilians, which is going on and has carried on today. Why are you carrying on doing it when you're being condemned by your own allies?
We all want the war to end. We're all exhausted from this terrible war. There have been unmeasurable losses on both sides, but unfortunately...
Well, they are measurable, and they're measured at over 59,000. 27 today, and another 19 starving. So they are measurable losses.
Well, you are using, and unfortunately, this is what the media does, unverified sources from the Gaza Health Ministry.
We can't verify them because you won't let us in. We know that. Well, that's an old argument as well. So let's stick to the condemnation of your allies.
Why should we be talking about numbers that are pulled out by genocidal terrorist regime that started this war to begin with? So let's keep everything in proportion. What I was trying to say is that we all want this war to end, and it's Hamas at the moment that is stopping the compromise. And how do I know that? Not because Israeli
sources... I'm trying to keep you to this statement.
Because American sources are saying and are angry about the fact that Hamas refuses to sign a ceasefire.
But are you not at all concerned
that is the core of the problem?
That 25 European nations and Australia and New Zealand think Israel is now inhumanely killing civilians and is greatly tarnishing its own reputation, damaging Israel by continuing to behave like this?
If I hadn't been hearing the same thing for a year and a half, in fact, from the week up after October 7th, then I'd be a little bit more shocking. But we've been hearing this terrible propaganda that is propagating Hamas talking points since the week after October 7th.
Are you accusing the British government of supporting Hamas?
It's very difficult to take condemnation seriously when we've been hearing them for a year and a half and nobody's actually doing anything practical to help.
Well, that may be true, that not very much is being done, but the point is you're doing the killing. Now, let's turn to the abduction of doctors. Now, targeting doctors is a war crime, as much of the killing in Israel.
We are targeting terrorists. Unfortunately,
why are you abducting doctors?
Hide behind civilians. We have seen, unfortunately, that hospitals are used as terrorist sites. You know that. It's been proven.
Well, don't tell me what I know. I mean, you make all sorts of allegations.
The reports, yes, such as your allegations, there's also allegations. And ultimately, we have shown the world that there are tunnels under hospitals.
I'm talking about the doctors. I'm not talking about the tunnels. I'm talking about the doctors who were being abducted.
Gaza doctors were involved in the killing of hostages.
Well, they're not so-called doctors, they are doctors.
So-called Gaza doctors have been hiding terrorists in tunnels beneath hospitals. So I don't know, I'm not part of the intelligence community in Israel.
Do you have any evidence for that?
Has been taken, but I'm sure it'll be proven soon enough that this doctor was also involved in terrorist activities, as most doctors in most hospitals in Gaza, unfortunately.
Well, a lot of those doctors have been released, having been abducted and taken off to be tortured. They've then been released. So perhaps they weren't terrorists after all.
You have no evidence of what you're currently accusing Israel of. And maybe, just maybe, they gave some important information to Israel where they could arrest more terrorists. How about that?
So you think it's a legitimate tactic to arrest doctors and question them?
If you think there is a terrorist...
In case they have information.
Not in case, I'm sure there's plenty of intelligence. When people are taken for questioning, they're questioned because there's something about to happen. And that information could save lives. That's what Israel has always done. And that's what any normal country would do to defend its citizens.
OK, well, if you don't like, you don't want to listen to the British government or 25 governments, what about the hostage families who are very worried that you have now opened this new front in Deir al-Balah where hostages may be being held? And they say you're going to sacrifice the lives of Israelis for your own ideology and to save the political career of Benjamin Netanyahu.
What ideology are you talking about? What ideology?
Well, this is their words. It's not my words. They're saying you are trying to preserve Benjamin Netanyahu and the ideology that's propping him up at the moment, and you are prepared to sacrifice hostages by now attacking Deir al-Balah.
We're not a country of ideologues, and listen, the hostage families have a right to think or say whatever they want. They have gone through immeasurable pain that no family should go through. And so I'm not going to criticize what they're saying. They have a right to be concerned anywhere where their children are hiding. They'll have a right to be concerned and anxious about that.
But you're going to do it anyway.
But what we have realized is that the only way Hamas ever compromised and has ever compromised in a hostage deal has been under fire, when negotiations are under fire. Otherwise, they do not release any hostages in exchange for Palestinian terrorists. Unfortunately, that is the pattern that Hamas have. We are talking about a Muslim Brotherhood genocidal terrorist regime that has taken their own people hostage, not just the Israeli hostages, their own people hostage. And if the world really wants to help, instead of writing empty condemnations and letters, what they should be doing is pressing Hamas to give up its power so the Palestinians can have a better life in the Gaza Strip.